7 bone-chilling encounters in the Appalachian Mountains that haunt today at 3 a.m. The Appalachian Mountains, towering and foreboding, held secrets darker than the night sky that draped over them. Locals whispered about shadows that moved on their own, eyes glimmering from the depths of the forests, waiting to pounce at the witching hour. Can you feel the chill? A sense of dread lurked here, heavy and suffocating, like a presence inching closer when you least expected it. It was said that if you wandered these woods alone at 3 in the morning, you might never return. The legend of the Banshee of Blue Ridge caused folks to lock their doors tightly every night. They said you could hear her piercing wail cutting through the wind, echoing through trees that seemed to shudder in response. Some claimed her cry was a warning, others, a death sentence. The tension was palpable whenever someone recounted their close encounter, that bone-chilling moment when the air went still, and the sound of her lament filled their ears. A lump formed in their throats as they spoke about her, their hands trembling uncontrollably. Then there was the tale of the phantom campfire. Lost souls trapped in an endless loop of despair, flickering flames illuminating ghostly figures of those who had wandered too far. Campers reported waking up in the middle of the night to the smell of smoke and laughter, only to discover an empty clearing lit by a fire that didn't crackle. As they squinted into the darkness, heart racing, the realization hit when they felt cold winds whispering promises of danger to come. How many had they swept away without a trace, leaving behind only lingering whispers? Just when you thought it couldn't get stranger, there were sightings of the wretched wampus beast, a creature with glowing eyes and fur that shimmered like silver in moonlight. Hunters had shared stories of their near encounters, brushing against instincts so primal they could barely breathe. It was said that the beast fed on fear, growing stronger with the town's growing terror. Each time someone described their unwavering gaze, you could almost feel the weight of it, pressing down on your chest like an old friend you'd do anything to avoid. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As darkness settled deeper, and as whispered legends became fervent truths, stories of shadowy figures flitting across trails drew curious adventurers into the forests. Could those who dared to tread where others had vanished truly escape the grasp of the unknown? Every snapped twig sent shivers down spines, every rustle of leaves made hearts leap. With every retelling, the stories grew, begging for more encounters, more of a peace of mind, more mysteries nestled in the heart of those Appalachian mountains waiting to be unearthed. What lay waiting in the shadows, poised to charm and terrify simultaneously? The answer screamed your name from the void, and it was too intoxicating to resist. As the night deepened, a flicker of unease threaded through the air like an unexpected gust of wind. The forest seemed to grow denser, each tree standing tall, as if they were sentinels of some dark secret. The stars above sparkled faintly behind thick curls of clouds, obscuring whatever truths lay beyond. Under that gloom, despite the eerie legends swirling in the town's ears, a group of thrill-seekers descended upon the Appalachian Mountains, unaware that their skepticism would soon meet its test. Evelyn, a bold spirit with an appetite for the supernatural, led the pack. She grinned at her friends, flashlight beams bouncing nervously off the bark of ancient trees. Ghosts or no ghosts, we're here for an adventure, right? Let us find that phantom campfire. Laughter rippled through the group, masking a thin veil of tension. Joey, always the paranoid one, hung back slightly, his brows furrowed. Evelyn, are you sure this is a good idea? You've heard the stories, haven't you? She rolled her eyes but couldn't quite shake the quickening of her heartbeat. After all, it was after midnight, and the shadows felt thicker now. Don't be a scaredy cat, Joey. She exclaimed, but her voice lacked its usual bravado. They ventured deeper into the woods, drawn by the whispers of the past. As time blended with the night, the air grew colder, and the laughter faded into an uncomfortable silence. It was then they stumbled upon the clearing. At the center, flickering light embraced the darkness like an uninvited guest. A campfire sprang to life with flames that danced cheerfully but made no sound. Excitement surged, and they approached, drawn closer with every step. The smell of burning wood and a hint of wildflowers mingled with the chilly night air, intoxicating yet wrong. In the heart of the fire, figures appeared. Shapes reminiscent of campers from another time swirled around the flames, ethereal and translucent, their faces twisted in expressions of longing and sadness. The group froze, terror washing over them. They were not alone. What the hell? Evelyn's voice trembled. Before anyone could react, the fire hissed and sputtered. The ghostly figures turned their eyes towards them, hollow and pleading. A strange chill settled upon the group as all their senses screamed for them to run. But instead, they were rooted to the spot, locked in place by the spell of the campfire's glow. Joey reached for Evelyn's arm, his grip tightening in fear. "We need to go. Now." As they turned to flee, the fire began to vanish, pulling back like the tide. Shadows replaced the warmth, leaving only the echoes of laughter ringing in their ears, chilling their souls. "Run!" Evelyn shouted, adrenaline propelling her forward. They dashed blindly through the underbrush, heartbeats pounding like drums in their chests. Dread clawed at their backs. Behind them, faint whispers trailed like an unseen force, weaving through the trees. The darkness seemed to close in. Suddenly, the whispers transformed into a haunting wail, a cry so piercing that it sliced through the veil of panic. The banshee of Blue Ridge filled the night, her lament piercing and urgent. It felt as if the very mountain was alive with her pain. As they reached the old logging road, breathless and hearts racing, they dared not look back. The dreaded realization dawned: not all who ventured into these mountains returned. But what was chasing them? In the distance, a pair of glowing eyes emerged from the darkness, watching. The Wampus beast. Their frantic escape became a race against time, and the very forest felt against them, the trees almost closing ranks. What would happen when they faced the truth they were running from? Did they have the strength to confront it, or would they, too, become part of the night's chilling legends? With terror squeezing their chests, they pushed forward into the shadows, not knowing who or what awaited them in the heart of the mountains. Their feet pounded against the gravelly logging road, the sound swallowed by darkness thickening around them. Panic surged through Evelyn as she dashed forward, adrenaline making her muscles scream. The shadows wrapped around her like fingers, cold and grasping, tugging at her soul. She could hear the haunting wail of the banshee still echoing in her mind, a dreadful reminder of the night's horrors. "Evelyn! Over here!" Joey cried, pulling her back as he skidded to a stop. They could barely see beyond the beam of their flashlights, the trees looming like silent watchers, nightmarish and alive. "Where do we go?" A shaky voice came from behind Lisa, usually brave, now trembling like a leaf in the wind. "We can't stay out here." Evelyn scanned their surroundings. The path forked ahead, one route leading towards a darker thicket while the other seemed to open towards the deeper woods. A choice loomed over them, both paths equally sinister. "Let us go left," she shouted, her voice a blend of authority and desperation. "It looks more open. We might find a way out." But as they started down that path, the laughter from the campfire drifted back through the trees, a chilling echo that twisted poor memories into something grotesque. Each of them shivered. The giggles sounded playful, taunting, a cruel mockery of their suffering. "This isn't just a game anymore," Joey exclaimed, his eyes darting around. With each step, the tension thickened. The forest felt alive, shifting, breathing with them. What were they really running from? They pushed on, but then a sudden crack of a branch behind them. A sound so loud it sent ice racing down their spines. Evelyn turned, heart hammering. "Did you hear that?" she shouted, trying to mask her fear. But they all had heard it, the sharp snap like thunder in the stillness of the night. "We need to move," Lisa urged, voice rising. "Now." They whirled back to the path ahead, racing onward, but the air grew thick, heavy with foreboding. Sweat dripped down their backs, and a unified sense of dread knitted them together like a fabric woven from fear. Then, just like that, the whispering returned, creeping through the trees like a malevolent breeze. It felt as if the forest was alive, breathing down their necks like a predator waiting to pounce. With terror squeezing her chest, Evelyn stole a glance over her shoulder. The glowing eyes were closer now, flaring with an ominous intensity. Shadows moved between the trees, gathering in clusters, coalescing into dark shapes. "Run faster!" Joey yelled, his voice echoing off the trees as they charged through the thicket, but their footfalls became heavier, slower, as if the forest conspired to keep them rooted in place. Each stride drew them deeper into the unknown, breaths coming in shallow gasps. The world around them darkened further as branches snagged at their clothes, nature itself throwing obstacles in their frantic path. "What if it catches us?" Lisa gasped, glancing back, eyes wide with fear. She stumbled but caught herself just in time. "Don't look back." Evelyn snapped, trying to sound brave but her voice wavered. "Just keep moving." But the horrifying truth settled in: could they outrun whatever haunted them? The forest echoed their growing panic with a deep-set thrum that vibrated through their bones. And then, without warning, they burst into another clearing, the moonlight flooding over them in stark contrast to the shadows behind. In the center stood a decrepit structure, an old cabin barely standing by the weight of time. Its windows were black holes drawing them in. "Should we go inside?" Joey asked, breathless and pale, his voice barely a whisper. Evelyn felt a shiver of dread. The darkness had been their enemy, but now the cabin felt like an invitation to something worse. But they had no time to weigh their options. She grabbed Joey's wrist. "It's our only choice," she exclaimed, filled with conviction, as they raced toward the cabin, slamming the door behind them just as the wail of the banshee crescendoed outside, growing louder. Inside, the air was stale. Creaking boards echoed beneath their feet, shadows looming against walls that seemed eager to take them in. They stood in a circle, catching their breaths, hearts racing wildly. "What now?" Lisa whispered, fear etched on her face. Evelyn didn't reply, her attention drawn to the creeping darkness outside, where the glowing eyes gleamed brighter and terror lingered, waiting. What would happen when the creatures outside broke the threshold? And then she spotted it, an ancient mark carved into the wall. The very symbol that tied the legends of the Wampus beast to the banshee's cries. "What if this place is part of it all?" Joey murmured, staring wide-eyed. But before she could answer, another crash echoed from behind them. Something was moving in the shadows as they turned. The door began to rattle violently, like the heartbeat of the forest itself, threatening to upend whatever fragile hold they had on their reality. What lay on the other side? Would they confront the creatures chasing them, or would they become part of the legend that haunted the Appalachian nights? What were the answers waiting to be unveiled? The rattling intensified, splintering the tension in the cabin like the crack of a whip. Evelyn's heart thudded in her chest as they all exchanged fearful glances, the shadows stretching ominously toward them. The door screamed against its hinges, the wood groaning under an unseen force. "Is it trying to get in?" Lisa squeaked, pressing against the wall as if it could swallow her whole. The dim light flickered, throwing their faces into stark relief. Pale, wild-eyed, and terrified, Evelyn forced herself to breathe. "We have to barricade it," she shouted. She sprinted forward and shoved an old wooden chair against the door, the scraping sound piercing through their anxious breaths. Joey and Lisa joined her, their adrenaline overtaking the paralyzing fear. They piled up everything they could find, a rickety table and some planks against the door. "Do you think it will hold?" Joey asked, eyes wide with uncertainty, glancing at Evelyn as if she held all the answers. "It has to," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. Yet, deep down, dread bubbled beneath her resolve. The legends buzzed in her mind, merging with the palpable air of death that surrounded them. Outside, the cacophony of chaos peaked, accompanied by a low, guttural growl. It reverberated through the cabin walls, sending shivers coursing down Evelyn's arms. A flash of movement caught her eye. Something darted past the window's edge. A hideous silhouette seemed to claw its way closer, each scrape a reminder of what pursued them. As they huddled together, Lisa suddenly pointed toward a hidden corner of the room. "Look! Over there!" In the dim light, they spotted a trapdoor, its outline barely visible among the decades of dust. "Do you think it leads somewhere safe?" Joey asked. His face was a mask of hope and fear. Evelyn swallowed hard. "It's a chance," she said slowly. "But what if it leads to something worse?" Lisa finished, eyes wide. "But it can't be any worse than what's out there." Joey insisted, his voice laced with urgency. The door's rattle grew more frantic, the sound almost desperate now. Evelyn felt the heavy weight of time pressing down. They couldn't linger in indecision, not while the shadowy figures gathered outside, drawn by their fear. "Okay," she exclaimed, cutting through the tension. "We'll check it. But stay close." Evelyn approached the trapdoor and brushed aside the dust. Her fingers trembled as she unclasped the rusted latch, and as she lifted it, a series of sounds emanated from below, whispers mingled with the sounds of rushing water. "Hey, I think I hear something down there," Lisa exclaimed, her voice rising with both excitement and dread. Like rushing water. A way out?" Joey pondered, his pulse quickening at the notion. "We have to take it." "Get ready then," Evelyn said, her stomach twisting as she prepared to descend into the unknown point. One by one, they climbed down the rough ladder, the smell of mildew heavy in the air. The soft glow of their flashlights illuminated the narrow passage, revealing walls lined with strange markings similar to those in the cabin above. "What do you think these mean?" Joey asked, tracing the closest symbol with a fingertip. I think they're warnings," Evelyn said, heart pounding as goosebumps prickled her skin. "Just like the legends." "We need to be careful." Before she could finish, the whispers intensified. They felt like icy fingers brushing against their skin. And then, out of the stillness, came a shriek, a spine-chilling cry that echoed through the darkness, instantaneously familiar. "No. No. Not again." Evelyn gasped, as realization hit like a punch to the gut. It was the banshee. "What do we do?" Lisa's voice rose, barely a whisper. "Keep moving," Evelyn urged, feeling a primal instinct to flee. The air was electric with terror, and she could feel the weight of the world pressing against her. As they shuffled deeper into the abyss, the ground beneath them shifted ominously. The walls felt alive, breathing almost as if they were closing in. "Guys, we're not alone down here," Joey shouted, pointing to the hollow sound of footfalls. Echoing behind them, panic surged again as they rounded a corner, heartbeats matching the thunder of their steps. What could be chasing them? Would they escape into the night or become another layer of darkness, lost forever in the woodland legends? At that moment, a chilling light flickered in the distance, drawing them closer, a way out or another trap. The choice hung heavy in the air as the unsettling sound swelled around them, every echo a reminder that danger was still hot on their heels. Could they make it out unscathed, or had they just opened a path to their own doom? The flickering light danced like a ghostly flame, taunting them in the oppressive darkness. It beckoned from down another corridor, its soft glow promising hope, a way out or perhaps yet another trap, luring them closer to their doom. Should we really go toward that? Lisa's voice trembled like a fragile leaf in the wind, fear etched across her face. It could be the thing that's chasing us, or worse. Evelyn was torn. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, yet the light flickered with a strange allure. "We don't have many options," she replied, stepping forward despite the wrenching in her gut. "Whatever is after us will find us down here if we hesitate." Joey matched Evelyn's determined stride, the terror pulsating through them both. He glanced back, eyes wide, as the chilling footsteps drew nearer. It was as if something from the shadows was studying them, stalking them, feeding off the fear that hung thick in the air. "Let's just stick together," he urged, swallowing hard. "We keep moving. Their feet echoed off the damp stone floor, each step a confrontation with dread. The markings on the walls became more pronounced, unspeakable symbols of despair and warnings lost to time. As they approached the source of the light, whispers crawled into their ears, indistinct and twisted. It was a haunting melody, laced with sorrow. Evelyn shivered, it felt familiar yet wrong. The banshee's wail seemed to intertwine with those whispers, a cacophony of agony that clawed at their sanity. Suddenly, the light sharpened, revealing a small alcove. And there, in that warped little space, stood a pedestal, a stone slab gilded in gold. Crumpled around it lay tattered pages, ink smeared and warped, like the remnants of a desperate prayer. Those look like legends, Joey whispered, eyes scanning the parchments. Legends? Lisa echoed, stepping closer to the pedestal. But there are more symbols. This could hold the key. She reached out, trembling fingers desperate to brush against the worn edges. No! Evelyn shouted, pulling Lisa back just in time. We can't tamper with this. It may be what has kept everything at bay down here. Or it might be the answers we need. Lisa protested, her eyes wild with conviction. The whispers swelled, almost as if urging them to heed her. In a split second, the room grew colder, and the banshee's wail ramped up, sudden and lethal, as if responding to their indecision. Panic ensued. The ground began to shudder, stones underfoot vibrating with malign resonance. Run! Evelyn screamed, adrenaline propelling her forward. They dove out of the alcove just as a violent force erupted from behind them. The walls groaned, cracking open as if the cavern itself were releasing a dark entity. Chunks of stone flew, and the stench of damp earth overwhelmed them. Where now? Joey yelled over the chaos, darting this way and that. Keep moving forward. Evelyn cried, veering left into a dimly lit tunnel that veered deeper underground. Panic clawed at them as they darted forward. Echoes of ancient laughter reverberated within the walls, mingling with the banshee's howls, a dreadful symphony they desperately tried to outrun. They stumbled into an expansive chamber, illuminated by a spectral glow from a pool of water in the center. Reflected in its surface were visions, tragedies, times of sorrow, and dark events swirling like particulates in a storm. Evelyn, look! Joey gasped, pointing at the water. What is happening? Lisa whispered, awestruck and terrified. The images flashed faster, their meanings clawing into their hearts, leaving impressions of loss and pain. The whispers from earlier escalated, clawing at their sanity. Each wave of sound seemed to pull them in, threatening to swallow the three alive. Don't stare too long. We have to keep moving. Evelyn shouted, but they stood paralyzed by the visions, the truth pulling them deeper into the depths of despair. Heavy breaths echoed. Time slipped away. What lay ahead, and what price would they pay to find out? Before they could answer, the water surged, and the whispers turned to a roar, as though awakening. Something ancient beneath its surface. Evelyn triggered an unshakable fear, finally breaking the paralysis that gripped them. Run! Just as they turned to flee, a shadow surged from the depths, dark and voracious, a silhouette that swallowed what little light remained. Would they find a way out, or would they succumb to the horrors lurking in the dark waters? The moment they turned, the shadow lunged, its form coiling up from the pool like a serpent of darkness, hungry and ravenous. The chilling roar echoed, vibrating within their chests, constricting their throats. Evelyn pushed Lisa forward, urging her on, but the frantic energy of the moment turned into chaotic terror as Joey was momentarily frozen, caught by the sinister gaze emanating from the depths. Joey, move! Evelyn's voice was a whip against the thick air, slicing through his paralysis. He stumbled backward, finally breaking free from the creature's haunting pull. The trio sprinted down the tunnel, their hearts pounding with a primal rhythm of fear. Distant laughter echoed off the stone walls, mockingly trailing them as they raced further away from that cursed chamber. The girl on the edge of that pool. The picture burned into Evelyn's mind, haunted her with eyes that seemed eternally locked in sorrow. Then they rounded a corner, bursting into a narrow passage lit dimly by sporadic patches of glow moss. Relief swept through them, but it was quickly replaced by a deeper dread as more whispers flitted through the air, hissing in ancient tongues. What if we're just running deeper into the trap? Lisa panted, her hands shaking. No more second-guessing. Evelyn shot back. We need to trust our instincts. We've made it this far. We can't stop now. Suddenly, the ground quaked beneath their feet again, sending them stumbling into each other. The walls seemed to ripple, pulsing with those ominous whispers, as if the very stones had a life of their own. A doorway emerged from the shadow, and with no time to think, they pushed through it. It slammed shut behind them with a thunderous boom, echoing like the judgment of the cavern itself. The three found themselves in an expansive hall, the ceiling lost to darkness above. The air here felt different, thick and heavy, almost electrical. At the far end of the hall, they saw an altar of sorts, decorated in lavish detail. Chains hung loosely from the ceiling, and the smell of burnt candles wafted through the air like a warning. A chill shot through Evelyn. It felt wrong, like the remnants of something sinister had brushed against her skin. Are we safe? Lisa whispered, her fear palpable. Safe? Joey exhaled sharply. This place feels like a setting for a sacrifice. Just as he spoke the words, a chorus of growls erupted from the shadows, reverberating through the stone space. Dark figures slinked out, eyes gleaming with malice, gathering around them like predators. Don't let them surround you. Evelyn shouted, instinctively forming a barrier in front of Lisa and Joey. The shapes darted close, the sound of claws scratching against stone made their insides twist. One of the creatures lunged, a snarl ripping from its throat, but it collided with a wave of energy that pulsed through the air. Evelyn, what did you do? Joey yelled, watching in shock as the shadow shrank back, the force radiating from her like a shield. I don't know. Her voice trembled as she strained against the encroaching darkness. Just keep moving. We have to find another way out. But younger shadows already swarmed around them, their intentions clear. Guttural growths resonated with an ominous frequency, voices too familiar clawing at Evelyn's mind, trying to hook her into a memory. A face flickered through her mind, someone she had known. Evelyn! Lisa screamed, panic-stricken. With a surge of adrenaline, Evelyn held on to whatever power she had mustered, pushing it outward. But the shadows threatened to snuff out her light as whispers shouted in her ear, drawing her closer to the altar. Fight it, she murmured, shaking her head to clear her thoughts. The oppressive darkness pressed in, suffocating her. With every ounce of determination, she held on, blocking out the painful memories. But one truth broke through the chaos: there was a connection between her past and this dread. One they needed to uncover, before it consumed everything. Before she could act, a figure emerged from the darkness behind the altar, its form obscured but undeniably real. Who dares to enter? It thundered. Evelyn stiffened. They were not alone in this nightmare. And as the figure stepped forward, a horrifying realization struck. It wore the face of someone she thought she would never see again. What had she unleashed? And what would she do to confront the horrors spiraling out of control? Evelyn stood frozen, heart racing as the figure stepped into the dim light. It looked just like her brother, the one she had lost all those years ago. Tim. The resemblance was hauntingly uncanny, his features carved from shadows, eyes reflecting the depths of despair and malice. Tim. She whispered, tears blurring her vision. The creature smiled, a twisted grin that sent chills down her spine. Oh, Evelyn, so naive, so lost, it hissed, each word dripping with malice. Do you truly think I'm here to help you? Get away from her. Joey shouted, stepping in front of Evelyn, but the creature ignored him, its gaze solely focused on her. You've brought others to our home, dear sister, the figure continued, voice echoing in the chamber. You always wanted to save your brother, didn't you? But you left me behind, and for that, you will pay. Memories rushed through Evelyn's mind like a tidal wave, the last moments she had shared with Tim before everything fell apart. Childhood laughter, family dinners, and the unshakable bond they had. But that bond twisted into a spectral noose now, tightening around her throat. Tim, it wasn't my fault. She cried, desperation rising in her chest. Not your fault. The creature stepped closer, shadows swirling around it like a storm ready to unleash chaos. You let me die. You abandoned me to darkness. Lisa grabbed Evelyn's arm, pulling her back as the energy in the room crackled. We have to fight this thing. It's not him. Evelyn's heart raced as she struggled with the truth. What if it was? What if Tim was trapped in this nightmare? But the figure transformed before her eyes, peeling back the layers of memories and flashing horrors, childhood nightmares, loss, the darkness she desperately tried to forget. No. Tim is gone. She burst out, shaking her head violently as if to dispel the vision of anguish that threatened to consume her. The shadows at the altar writhed, gathering strength at her defiance. He is not gone, Evelyn. He is here, with me. Come to us. The malicious whispers slithered around her. Suddenly, the chains hanging from the ceiling rattled violently, as if awakening from a long slumber. The dark figures surrounding them joined the chorus, their growls mixing with the echoes of familiar laughter. Panic surged through her as the walls pulsed with sinister energy. Evelyn, we need you. Joey urged, his fear evident as he fought to keep the darkness at bay. Red-hot determination ignited within her. Stay close. She yelled, positioning herself between the altar and her friends. In that moment, Evelyn called on the newfound power inside her, feeling it ignite like fire. With all her strength, she summoned a brilliant light. It spread from her palm, illuminating the hall, piercing through the shadows, momentarily dispersing the darkness. The laughter ceased, replaced by furious shrieks as the figures recoiled. No. This is a lie. You can't escape. The figure of Tim screeched, his mask slipping to reveal something far darker beneath. The light shone brighter, forcing the shadows to retreat. I want to let you drag me down. Evelyn screamed, channeling every ounce of emotion into her power. The dark figures howled and writhed as the shadows ripped away, revealing glimpses of tormented souls trapped for ages. And just as the weight of despair felt unbearable, the figure of Tim lunged forward, clawing at her, desperation transforming into rage. The blinding light threatened to push him back, but he was relentless, grasping at her soul as memories swirled around them. Stay with us, Evelyn, he beckoned, voice changing to an eerie melody filled with sorrow. Her heart ached. I will save you. She shouted, pushing through her pain. But just as the darkness seemed ready to shatter, something shifted within the shadows. A chilling wind swept through the hall, wrapping around her like a shroud, and then, silence fell. As the last echoes faded, Evelyn found herself standing alone, surrounded by an eerie calm. There was no sign of Joey or Lisa. Panic flared as the realization settled it was not just shadows that had come alive. But something much worse. Where are you? She called, her voice trembling, the silence echoing back her words. And then she heard it, a soft whisper weaving through the stillness, beckoning her deeper into the darkness. Come find us. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. What had she truly unleashed? And would she ever be able to bring back those she'd lost? As the shadows began to swirl again, she knew one thing: she was far from finished. But she had to make a choice: confront the darkness head-on or succumb to the depths of despair that awaited her. The air hung heavy, thick with an unnatural chill that gnawed at Evelyn's sanity. Where had they gone? Fear coursed through her, making her hands tremble. Joey. Lisa. She called out, her voice cracking. The only reply was the faint echo of her own voice lost in the gloom. A whisper slipped through the silence again, ethereal and haunting. Come find us. The shadows shifted, swirling at the edges of her vision, forming shapes that flickered in and out like dying embers. She took a step forward, heart pounding, straining to see past the dense darkness. Tim. Is that really you? The uncertainty clawed at her chest. What if this was some twisted game? The darkness deepened, absorbing her words, wrapping her in a suffocating embrace. The flicker of light she had conjured was now a memory, a dull reflection of hope that flickered like a dying candle. She inhaled sharply, pushing back against the oppressive energy. "I will find you," she shouted, her voice ringing defiantly against the walls that seemed to close in, but as she advanced deeper into the depths, something began to shift. Shadows flickered with life, darting around her like predators toying with their prey. She could almost hear their snickering whispers, a mocking chorus that drowned out her thoughts. This way that way they teased, guiding her with malevolence. As she stumbled forward, a low growl resonated, reverberating through the chamber like thunder rolling over hills. Panic shot through her veins as the figure of Tim re-emerged from the dark, more grotesque and fearsome than before. "You think you can save them? You're all mine now," he screamed, and the shadows intensified, lashing out with an energy that felt alive, reaching for her. "Get away!" Evelyn shouted, unleashing a burst of light that momentarily stilled the shadows. They recoiled, revealing glimpses of anguished faces, trapped souls crying out for salvation. "Evelyn!" The voices melded into one, a plea she recognized too well. "Help us!" But which souls were they? The vision twisted, morphing and merging into anguished faces she had once known. Among them, Joey and Lisa's eyes stood out, wide with fear, trapped but still alive. "Evelyn!" They cried again, the desperation clear. "No, no!" The tormenting figure of Tim laughed, his features shifting between her brother and something far more demonic. "You can't save them. They are mine. You abandoned me and now you'll abandon them." Her heart raced. Could she really risk it? The shadows stretched and swirled, tangled in a dance of darkness desperate to consume her. The weight of her past decisions pressed down, threatening to drown her in guilt and despair. Every pulse in her chest echoed the loss she had endured, the grief that had chained her to this moment. "Tim, I loved you," she roared, desperation fueling her words. "You are not this. I can save you. I won't leave you again." The creature paused, the shadows momentarily stilled. For an instant, it seemed to flicker, revealing a glimmer of her brother's true face. Hope flickered within her, igniting the flames of conviction. "Stay with me," she cried, willing the light to flow from her into the darkness. Suddenly, the shadows surged back violently, a storm ready to engulf everything in its path. The growls escalated into a roar, shaking the very bricks of the room. Then, from somewhere deep in the void, a piercing scream rose, an anguished cry that shattered the thick miasma around her. Evelyn's resolve solidified. She had to act quickly. She could rally what was left of her courage, battle the darkness, and maybe, just maybe, pull Joey and Lisa from the abyss. As she summoned every ounce of power within her, ready to unleash a burst of blinding light, the cavern trembled and cracked. A voice split the air, low and haunting. "You will regret this." Evelyn's heart raced. The veil between worlds threatened to shatter, and she knew she had only one chance to save them. "I won't regret anything if I can save you." Barely holding on, she stepped into the swirling shadows, hands outstretched, mind screaming with fear and hope. The ultimate cost of heartbreak, but as she lunged, darkness surged to meet her, and she could only hope she was traveling the right path. Would she reach them, or would the darkness come crashing down, taking everything they cared about? The shadows closed in like a tidal wave, hungry and relentless. Evelyn felt their icy breath skimming her skin, sending shivers down her spine. Time stretched as she plunged forward, hands extended, heart thundering in her chest. Each breath felt like a battle, the atmosphere thickening with despair. "Joey! Lisa!" she cried, her voice fraying at the edges, echoing into the darkness. Just then, the ground buckled beneath her feet, a tremor vibrating through the very bones of the earth. Evelyn threw her arm out to steady herself, heart racing at the chaos unfolding. The shadows twisted into horrific shapes, snarling ferociously, their eyes glinting with malice. They swarmed like dark moths to her defiance, responding to her light with shrieks of rage. Suddenly, Tim's form loomed larger in the unforgiving dark. "You want to save them?" he bellowed, his voice a ghastly mix of despair and madness. They'll never forgive you, Evelyn. You think that you can wade through this darkness unscathed? Look at the price you pay. The monstrous figure dissipated, shards of black pouring fiercely back into the wall of shadows, exposing fleeting figures trapped within. Faces she recognized, twisted in agony. The realization hit her with the force of a sledgehammer. These were not just random souls, they were echoes of her own failures, the fragments of memories that haunted her since childhood. Stay strong. A voice whispered, sharp as shattered glass. It was Lisa's voice, laced with fear but still filled with determination. Evelyn felt a jolt surge through her, wrapping around her heart as clarity broke through the devastating fog. She understood then, it wasn't just about saving them, it was also about freeing herself. Evelyn gathered every orphaned fragment of hope, pulling together the light inside her. Fueled by a frenetic urgency, she thrust her hands upward and released a blind flare of energy. The light exploded outward, the raw force tearing through the shadows like a blazing sun. For a moment, the darkness receded, revealing a hidden path ahead strewn with whispers of anguish. Run! She shouted to the flashing specters of Joey and Lisa, who seemed so near yet impossibly distant. Their hands reached out, desperate, while the dark forces recoiled, hissing in fury, but as they moved, the shadows writhed violently, seething like a wounded beast. You think you can escape so easily? Tim's voice twisted around her like chains, every syllable steeped in mockery. No one leaves this place. You will join the others, lost forever. Evelyn's heart thudded like a warning bell. Fear clawed at her confidence, squeezing tight. Was she strong enough to hold on to the light? Or was she fated to succumb to the darkness that craved her essence? Gathering her resolve, she clutched her aching heart. I am not yours to take. She cried, pulling energy from deep within, reaching for the pulse of familiarity that coursed through every decision, every sacrifice she had ever made for them. As the burst of light swelled from her palm, illuminating the twisted faces that haunted her, the shadows howled and recoiled, like animals cornered in a trap. The faces lined up in an ethereal procession, once tormented, now flickering between hope and despair, but just as hope flickered, something else struck her. A piercing chill shot through her, roots of doubt creeping back in. Was she merely exchanging one nightmare for another, leaving them to suffer on this precipice of oblivion? Before she could wrestle with the thoughts, a new figure emerged from the shadows, darker and more twisted than Tim, its eyes burning with a terrifying hunger. You're not the only one who desires what lies beyond, Evelyn, it hissed, the sound like nails scraping on glass. The air thickened, suffocating her in waves. A cold fire ignited within her chest. Evelyn's heart raced. She couldn't let them down again. It's not over yet. She screamed, feeling the power of the light coalesce once again around her. I will fight. With her courage roaring like a wildfire, she charged toward the dark figure, ready to play this dangerous game of shadows. But how much light would it take to combat this deeper darkness? Would she just be fueling an insatiable void? And with that thought slicing through the haze, she lunged into the storm, ready to confront whatever awaited her on the other side. As Evelyn plunged deeper into the shadowy mass, a rush of cold air engulfed her, pushing her thoughts into a frenzy. The shadows thrummed with dark energy, whispering of her failures, of things left undone. You are lost, Evelyn, the dark figure chortled, its voice like rusting metal grinding together. You thought you could save them? You are as much a prisoner as they are. With a fierce determination, Evelyn tightened her fists, feeling warmth spread through her palms. She pictured Joey and Lisa, their faces full of fear yet still flickering with bravery. No, she cried, I will find a way. The light within her flickered to life, ignited by the bond of friendship and love. In her mind's eye, the faces of countless lost souls filled her, illuminating her purpose. Evelyn voiced a prayer, calling forth the powers that had guided her thus far. Like the dawn breaking through the darkest night, a brilliance burst forth from her core, enveloping her in warmth. The shadows recoiled, shrieking harmoniously, unable to endure the radiant charge. With each pulse of light, cries of anguish morphed into serene whispers, those trapped within the darkness starting to emerge from the shadows. Joey and Lisa ran toward her, eyes wide but glimmering with hope. "Evelyn!" they cried, reaching for her hands, their fingers brushing against her palm, electrifying her resolve. The shadows wailed in fury as the surging light placed them side by side, cracking apart the dark veil that sought to keep them forever apart. "Hold on!" she called, gripping their hands tighter. "We're not alone. Keep moving. Together." As they connected, their heartbeats synchronized a symphony of strength that radiated through the air. With every step forward, the darkness splintered like glazed glass, draining the entity's might and revealing a path forged not only through courage but through the power of their unity. Suddenly, from within the fading shadows, Tim's figure appeared, but this time it bore no malice, just despair. "Evelyn, it doesn't have to end like this." His eyes, sad and pleading, penetrated the dimness, pulling at her heart. "It's not you, Tim," she exclaimed, feeling the walls of doubt close in once more. "I know you're still in there. You've chained me here." He raged, the shadows twisting around their shared history, but beneath the anger shimmered flickers of recognition. "Then come back to us," Evelyn cried, feeling the radiant force surge within. "Let us end this together." In that moment, light sparked in Tim's eyes, momentary clarity breaking through. "I can't," he gasped, a war raging visibly within him. Evelyn took a step closer, feeling the warmth of Joey and Lisa behind her. "You can. We need you. You're not lost, you were lost with the darkness. Fight it." The storm of shadows swirled tighter around them, a black tempest, but Evelyn stood firm, summoning every memory, every scrap of love she held for him. "You deserve to be free, Tim. We will face this together." Tim faltered, the twisted grin that shadowed his face skating away as a flicker of hope ignited. "Evelyn," he muttered, voice breaking, as he reached out a hand. The once merciless darkness that encircled him began to dissipate. Her heart raced, perhaps they could be saved. As Tim connected with their circle, the force became a unified blinding light, a comet streaking through the fabric of despair. The dark entity shrieked, its form disintegrating like ashes in the wind, revealing the remnants of lost souls around them, captives of the darkness freed at last. As the shadows broke apart, they could feel the weight lift, the air shimmering with warmth. In a blinding flash, the remaining darkness shattered, allowing the radiant light to pour in. A cool breeze swept through, carrying with it the nostalgic scent of home, and inviting warmth beckoning them. "Let us go," Joey exclaimed, taking hold of Evelyn's and Lisa's hands as they surged forward. In that moment, laughter erupted, a joyous sound that filled the vast void left behind, a testament to their survival. Together, bursting from the final barrier, they found themselves standing breathless under the canopy of the Appalachian night sky. The weight of fear melted away as purity filled their chests. The forest sang with gentle rustles and whispers, a sound freed by the moonlight lingering overhead. "Evelyn, we did it!" Lisa exclaimed, laughter bubbling forth like water from a spring. The long shadows of the trees seemed alive with thanks, flickering realities blurring the line between worlds. "Yeah, we made it," Evelyn replied, the tension in her shoulders easing, warmth flooding her heart. "But the legends are still out there, let them come," Joey exclaimed, his excitement palpable. "Not without us." They stared at the mountains, knowing their adventure was far from over. They shared an understanding, a bond forged in darkness, igniting the spirit of courage in the face of fear, and beyond the warmth of their reunion, within the embrace of the night, they heard a distant wail, a warning, a reminder that shadows would always linger. But Evelyn smiled, for they would face whatever tomorrow brought. Together. As they walked deeper into the forest's heart, leaving behind the memories of their battles, their laughter echoed a promise that this chapter had ended, but the story of their friendship would forge onward, limitless under the starlit skies. Now, before you close this chapter, this is your moment to act. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories we have lined up. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood our comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this breathtaking climax. They deserve to join us on the next journey ahead.